Hi, everybody. Good evening, and thanks for joining in. I really appreciate you taking the time. Um, my name is Dr. Oscar Hevia. You probably may have read a few things about me already. I've been in practice 22 years as a cosmetic dermatologist. I was in a group setting for many of those years, but 3.5 years it was time for me to go solo and take all my experience and know-how and open my beautiful practice here in Coral Gables, Florida. That's where we're located, which is a subdivision of Miami. Um, the philosophy of my practice is restoration, not alteration. That's my motto. So what that means, of course, is um, I'm here to restore people's appearance, get them back to their best self, get them to look optimal, and in no case should we ever make someone look different or modified. The whole philosophy is to just turn back the clock and get you restored. And my main focus, my main area has to do with injectable fillers and with Botox. And by that I mean, of course, Botox, Dysport, and Xeomin. Those are the three neuromodulators, as we call them, that are presently available in the market. So I'm very fortunate that my practice is entirely cosmetic dermatology. It's exclusively cosmetic dermatology. Very few dermatologists can make that claim. They have to deal with diseases of the skin in addition to doing cosmetic procedures. But fortunately for me, 100% of my time is spent with cosmetic dermatology. So basically, this is a non-surgical practice. I believe that most everyone would prefer a non-surgical option to looking better, and there always is surgery, and that's something that always needs to be considered for certain indications. We could talk about that a little bit more later, but the primary focus is in cosmetic dermatology, non-surgical improvements. So of course, when we talk about non-surgical improvements, there are things that we do in the realm of procedures, and I already mentioned the injectable procedures, but there's also how does your skin look? Of course, we can't just simply restore your face and get your cheeks back to where they were, or get those hollows filled in, and then you're not your skin isn't looking its best. So that's an area that is very important to me, and that's an area where over many years I realized that patients weren't getting those needs met. And so about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, I realized, okay, I'm going to have to get in on this, and I have to find a way to create a skin line, formulate a skin line that's going to make a big difference in terms of how people's skin looks. And so I went to basic research and started looking at what do we need to do to create products and ingredients that are going to really make a difference. That's my second philosophy in my practice, is let's make a difference. So restoration, not alteration, and let's really make a difference. Let's do things that actually are going to be obvious to everyone that you look a lot better. I try to avoid um, procedures that where you have to sort of guess. Well, I think I look better. Well, don't really want that. We want to do things for patients. We want to do things for people that it's just very clear that you look much better. It's obvious to you. It's obvious to the doctor, and everybody's very happy in that case. So I went into some basic research and looked into what do we need to do to create a skincare line that actually can make a difference. And of course, it starts with quality ingredients and innovation. Innovation, you could say, is another parameter of my practice. Innovation, cutting edge. You always want to be doing things that no one's thought of. You want to always be outside of the box. You always want to be ahead of everyone. So innovative ingredients. And so along those lines, when I started doing my research, I was doing research into plant polyphenols, looking at the chemistry of plant polyphenols. And from there, I was able to discover that just a couple of miles down from here, along the coastline, there's a plant called the red mangrove, which is actually, this is a small version of that plant right there. This is a seedling of the plant. That's what it looks like. The red mangrove, which grows in tropical climates anywhere from the equator, north 20 degrees or south 20 degrees, all around the globe, has this incredible survival technique, survival method, because of course it's being exposed to horrendous environmental elements, particularly heat, humidity, salt water, fresh water, no water. So the red mangrove is a plant that's developed a lot of survival polyphenols in it that protect it. And so it turns out that this plant that's just down a ways from where we're at has an excellent antioxidant in it, which I was able to isolate, and then we were able to test it and be able to confirm that it is in fact much more potent than vitamin C. And that's exciting because vitamin C is our gold standard. That's what we look at when we're trying to say, well, how good is our antioxidant? We really want to be able to compare it to the benchmark, the gold standard, which is vitamin C. So that was very exciting. And then, of course, the other interesting part to this discovery was, okay, well, now I have this ingredient that no one else has. Now I have this antioxidant no one else has. Okay, well, how are we going to get enough of it to be able to get it to the people? And fortunately, I was able to discover that there is a nursery in particular that grows the seedlings of this red mangrove plant. And so I was able to obtain those seedlings as a renewable source, because they're grown every year, of the red mangrove, to obtain the extract from which we get the antioxidant properties. So that was very exciting. So kind of put the whole package together. If you go on, there's a website called EWG, Environmental Working Group. They have a search engine there. I recommend that all of you use that. It's EWG/Skin Deep. And that's a search engine that you can punch in any ingredient in any product that you're checking. And what you'll find is that a lot of ingredients that may be marketed in certain ways, when you actually type in that ingredient where it seems to be special, you'll find that it's actually common to 20, 30, 40 other skincare products. So it was important to me to say, well, I need to do something that's really special, that's really unique. And in this case, the red mangrove extract, if you put that ingredient in, you're going to find that it's not present in anything. So I'm very proud of that. So that's just a quick rundown as far as the product line, as far as the hallmark ingredient. But of course, the product line has many other ingredients that are important. We can't just rely just on the red mangrove extract. And so another very important class of ingredients that are in the product line are the brown algae extracts. Extracts or antioxidants derived from brown algae, which is kind of interesting because that's also a marine-based product. But it turns out that brown algae have tremendous antioxidant, anti-inflammatory properties, and they also actually generate they have a particular antioxidant that stimulates production of SIRT1, which is a protein that acts very similar to resveratrol in prolonging the life of the DNA of the cells. So now we have a direct link into anti-senescence or anti-aging. That's another really important property that the products have, another important ingredient that's present in the products. So those are the two really sort of hallmark ingredients. And then of course I also have the Oxy complex in the product line, which is a blend of 11 very important antioxidants, peptides, DNA repair enzymes, of course very critical vitamins as well, to sort of complement and finish the job with the product lines. So I know that you were supplied with the serum, and also you were supplied with the hand and body cream. The serum, you may recall, is this chrome colored silver dispenser. The potent serum is very exciting because it has the highest concentrations of the extract, both from the red mangrove and the brown algae. So it packs a punch. That's why we call it the potent repair serum. And it also has a very, very good feel. So it's excellent for those people who don't want something greasy, don't want something oily. They're looking for something that has a silky, soft feel, feels great going on their skin. They don't have to worry about getting breaking out, or having any issues with that. The other product that you were that they also got you was the Hand and Body. The Hand and Body is a fantastic product because it was important to me to formulate it in such a way that it's as elegant and sophisticated as what you would use on your face. A lot of people sort of think that a body cream is something that, well, we'll just use the least important ingredients, and we'll use the junky stuff because, well, it's just going on your body. But that's not my philosophy. It's important that we take care of the back of the hands. It's something that we see all the time. And we need the hands to be consistent with the face, just as we need the décolleté to be consistent with the face and the neck to be consistent with the face. So this is an excellent product that you can use in those areas. So that's very important. We can go on just very briefly to talk about the other products in the line. Then, of course, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to go over that with you. The Luminous Day is a wonderful lotion, cream. It's for the daytime, and this is important because it has vitamin C esters in it, in addition to transresveratrol, to really kind of keep your brown spots down. So this is something that you want to have on board during the day to combat the spottiness and the splotchiness that you see with, of course, the aging process. The Night Repair is fantastic for, sorry, I'm trying to get you the right angle there. The Night Repair is a wonderful cream. It's a rich cream. It's ideal for any patient that's sort of a medium to very dry skin type that needs a lot of nourishment for the skin at night. It's going to replenish the skin. It's fantastic. The cleanser is very important. Cleansing is a fun issue for me because most people I see, they have excessively dry skin, and it's because the cleansers they're using are way too harsh. They're usually foaming or gel cleansers, and it's nice for your skin to sort of feel squeaky clean after you cleanse it, but the truth is that you've depleted a lot of your natural oils from your skin, and now you have to combat that by using a lot more moisturizer and a lot more products. So the cleanser is a gentle cleanser. It does an excellent job of cleansing your skin, but it's not too harsh. And of course, the final is the what I call the Day and Night Eye Complex. I wanted to formulate an eye cream that you could use both in the day and at night because your eyelid skin needs all the help it can get 24/7, and it's convenient that you have the same product that you're able to utilize both for the day and for the night. It also has hyaluronic acid, which is very important to get that moisture in your skin. And rice bran peptides, which are important to keep the firmness for the skin under the eyes as well. Okay, so how much should you apply? Right. So, the serum, if you have a serum that's well formulated, you don't need a lot. You do not need a lot, and this is a very high quality serum. So you could probably apply what's analogous to maybe about 3 Ps, one on this side, one on this side, maybe one on your forehead, spread it out from there, and that's going to be enough to get you the coverage you need and the response that you're going to get. Okay, so dark spots, that's one of my favorite topics. Dark spots are, a lot of people don't know this, but dark spots are created or caused by, aside from the obvious sun exposure, they're caused by the aging process. Oxidation and breakdown of your skin actually stimulates melanocytes, the cells in your skin, to produce brown. And so when you use the right type of antioxidant products, you're going to subdue or calm those melanocytes, those pigment forming cells, and that's going to help to even your skin tone. So you definitely want to use a very good quality anti-aging product such as a Luminous Day product that I have. That's very important to keep those spots from diminishing, keep them from getting too dark. Now, generally speaking, we have lots of options for brown spots. If they're on the light shade, we can use a bleaching regimen to get those to fade out, and that generally for most people is about 4 to 5 weeks of daily use, assuming they're protecting from the skin, assuming that they're not getting too much sun and they're not abusing that. So that's very important. If the dark spots are sort of a medium to dark brown shade, in that case we can use laser That can be very effective. And of course, we can also use chemical peels, can be very effective. So we have lots of tools, lots of options for treating brown spots. You know, I don't think that anybody needs to change their routine periodically. That's not necessary. It's not like your skin is adapting to or getting used to a particular regimen and, well, now we got to switch things around. But there are times when your skin changes, there are times when the environment is changing. You might be aging, or you're going from one season to another, and you're going to see that you're going to have different requirements. So in that context, I think it is a good idea to be using, maybe tweak your skincare regimen, whether that means using a little bit more of one of the products, or whether it means maybe you have to switch your cleanser around. It all depends on what the environmental changes are. You know, one of my favorite questions is this issue of when do you start the anti-aging routine. You know, it used to be that people thought of anti-aging as, oh, well, let me give you these products because you're getting old, your skin's starting to age, and now's when you want to start using. The fact is that anti-aging is kind of really what it says. It means we're going to stop, reduce, or take away the aging process. We want to be there before you start aging. That's when we want to kick in. So the truth is, the best age and this is from what I've noticed with my own practice, obviously, is late 20s. I love patients in their late 20s to start already using anti-aging products, especially the lighter skin types. They start aging a lot quicker. And so, you know, starts with a couple little expression lines, a couple little uneven, you know, color in the skin. Maybe the skin's just getting a little bit drier. So those are all the beginning signs, and it is incredibly common in the late 20s, and certainly by mid 30s, it's super common. So start early. That's very important. Well, if you're new to anti-aging skincare, I think one of the most important products would be, for example, the Potent Serum. And I say that because some of the younger types, they don't use a lot of products. Maybe they're trying to keep things simple. Maybe they're just jumping into it. So I like the serum because the younger skin types aren't that dry yet. Um, they're still maybe thinking, you know, could some of these things maybe cause me to break out? So the serum is a nice way of getting a potent change to the skin, but yet it still has an elegant feel. It's still simple. It's something that you could even do once a day. So that's a good starting product. Well, how much sun is too much? You know, I think any sunlight that we're going to get that gets us just past the amount of vitamin D we need is too much sun. So what do we know? We know that, you know, 5-10 minutes of sunlight is typically just fine for our skin to naturally make vitamin D. So anything more than that is too much. Now, of course, there are certain skin types that can get away with a little bit more than others. But we know now, for example, we used to sort of think that, oh, well, you know, you're very dark brown. You know, you can probably get away with a lot. You know, we see a lot of aging changes, even in dark brown skin, even though, of course, the changes you see are a little more delayed than with the lighter skin types. So I would say, as a general rule, you know, in terms of unprotected sun, I would say anything more than 10 minutes of unprotected sun is really too much for anybody. Right. So the first signs of sun damage. I like all these questions. These are great. First signs of sun damage. First and foremost is a little bit of change in the texture and moisture level of the skin. So these are very, very subtle changes, but you start to slip away a little bit from that sort of dewy, supple, kind of nice, smooth texture to something a little less than that. That's really one of the first signs. Another early sign of sun damage is broken capillaries. A lot of young folks, especially again with the lighter skin types, you're going to see it more. Start to get just a few little broken blood vessels here and there, and you think nothing of it, but that's actually another very early sign. Of course, we start to see some wrinkles, but those are really more expression related, and even if you're protecting yourself from the sun, you may very well get some expression wrinkles nonetheless. Yeah. Fine lines around the lips. Those are what we call dynamic lines. In other words, those are wrinkles and lines that are coming out because there's so much movement and so much activity there. There's really no skincare line that's going to make a dent on those once they formed. So what would I recommend for that area? I would tell you that the night repair is very important before they form, and I would tell you that the serum during the day would be very important before they form. So you can kind of get an idea from your family members. That tends to run in families as far as the lip lines forming. Of course, one of the biggest myths is that it's cigarette related, exacerbates it and makes it worse. But it's not caused by cigarette smoking. So if you've noticed that some of the women in your family just have this tendency to get these lines, I would start with the night repair and the serum very early on in those areas. That's a great question. Unfortunately, a lot of the eyelid skin, a lot of the products that go around the eyes, for a lot of people are going to be a bit of a trial and error type of experience. There are going to be some people who are sensitive to some of the ingredients in some of these products, and the eyelid skin, being as thin as it is certainly vulnerable to dermatitis or reaction, type of allergic reaction or irritant reaction. So there's no hard and fast rule, but obviously the higher the quality of the products, the better the antioxidants, the better the anti-inflammatories, because remember that anti-inflammatory ingredients are just what that says. They're sort of an allergic reaction is an inflammatory reaction. So if you have a product that's got very good anti-inflammatory ingredients, you're going to be much less likely for that to happen. Skin of color does age differently than fair skin, and the main way in which skin of color ages differently is that it tends to maintain its moisture content a lot longer than fair skin. Fair skin starts to lose water much quicker, so definitely darker skin types are blessed by a later onset type of signs of aging. That being said, they are vulnerable to all the signs of aging. Some of them you might not see as much because the melanin in the skin is going to sort of conceal it. For example, like the broken capillaries that so many of the fair skin types you see all the time and the rosacea type skin changes you may not see in a darker skin type because that color is not coming through the melanin layer, the top layer of the skin. But it's all there for darker skin types, and that's one of the things that we've learned recently is that darker skin types need to be careful, need to stay away from the sun. And just because your skin looks better longer doesn't mean that it's not going to be affected. Prevent signs of aging in deeper skin. So, by the way, in terms of preventing signs of aging in deeper or darker skin tones, again, same philosophy. The darker skin has more built-in sunscreen, and that's wonderful. So you've got a built-in antioxidant there in melanin. But nonetheless, we still have to protect it. So all the rules apply as far as what we need to do to intervene and defend and keep the skin from aging. You guys have great questions. This whole area of facial exercising, expression muscles, how they tie into our expression muscles in our face are intimately linked to our skin, and there's no better example of that than, of course, the way Botox works, right? The reason why Botox works so well is because our skin is wrinkling in response to the way expression muscles are attaching and working on our skin. So yeah, expression muscles have a lot to do with making us look younger and fresher. But the only catch is with respect to these treatments that are done is that in general the treatment, they don't last very long. So what's a bit controversial, what we're seeing is that you may be doing some electrical stimulation for the facial muscles, and that may certainly create a tighter look, and that's great. But if you stop doing it in a relatively short period of time, a lot of the laxity of the skin is going to return. So that's, unfortunately one of the things we see with those types of procedures. One of my favorite topics is using Botox in young people. I think that Botox is very commonly used in patients now in their mid to late 20s. And the reason for that is that we never had thought about that, sort of looking back a few decades, because the options were much more limited. But the truth is that most people in their 20s, late 20s, are already developing some expression lines. Whether it's that patient that's just a little vulnerable to the frown lines between the brows, whether it's a patient that's just starting to get the crow's feet at the corners of the eyes, or if it's somebody who's just very active in their foreheads, constantly lifting their brows, you begin to see a lot of these expression lines around that time, the late 20s. So it's a great idea. Why not? Put a little Botox in there, keep those lines from forming. I always remind patients that Botox is like other anti-aging things we do. We are preventing the aging process. And if we start using Botox at an early age, late 20s, early 30s, you won't develop those wrinkles. And that's an incredible thought. 30, 40, 50 years later, you're 60 years old. You're not going to have those wrinkles. So definitely you want to get on board early and just don't make them come out in the first place. Most of the work that I did on my skincare line was for about a year, year and a half, as I said before. And again, it had to do primarily with the research arm of looking at plant polyphenols, which is a fascinating area to me. One of the most interesting areas of anti-aging and science for me is the link between plants and health, the link between plants and anti-aging, the miracle of plant-derived chemicals, plant-derived molecules, etc. So that's an area that I spent a lot of time doing research on before I eventually started to hone in on the red mangrove. Again, the eye area is my passion. I actually pioneered a technique for injection under the eyes using fillers, and I probably do that area of the face more than any other. So I truly believe that your eyes are the most important part of your face that's going to convey freshness, youthfulness, versus tired, worn out, etc. So I'm a huge believer in addressing the eyes. Using fillers, that's key, but of course also we want to take care of the skin around the eyes. One of the things that a lot of people don't understand is that using great products around the eyes is not going to eliminate the majority of crow's feet wrinkles, because they're usually very well established, they're very well developed, they're pretty deep, and so the cream just really isn't going to take that away. So when you think of eye creams, the main reason you're doing eye creams is for all those fine lines that exist around the eyelids that are existing. I like to use the term eyelid because it gives people a sense of where around this area we're talking about. So a lot of the finer lines around the eyelids, that's where you want to use a quality eye product, because that's where you will see an improvement. As far as darkness, darkness under the eyes is a huge topic, of course, and that also will make you look tired and run down and so forth. And so for dark circles around the eyes, there's a couple reasons why we have dark circles: because you have hollowness, so the light is creating a shadow effect. You can have dark circles because your skin naturally pigments there. In other words, you just simply have darker skin in that area. And then you have also people with very thin skin types. There's very little collagen there, and so you can almost see the blood circulation pattern underneath. That gives it a dusky color. So you can have any number of combinations of those types of changes that can account for dark circles under the eyes. So you definitely want to use a good product that has, we know that vitamin C is excellent for that area. Of course, we know that transresveratrol is great for that area. We know that the vitamin A, retinol is good for that. So you want to use a good product that's going to create what we call a bleaching effect or lightening effect under the eyes. the future of skincare, I think we're going to do a lot more meaningful work in terms of the collagen layer and the elastic fiber layer. We're going to get better at using products and doing procedures that really can make a meaningful change in the collagen layer, because right now, in terms of tightening the skin, it's still a bit of a challenge. There's basically two main ways we tighten the skin right now. Non-surgically, we do it by using fillers under the skin to stretch the skin, and that creates a tightening effect. Surgically, of course, we do it by pulling the skin. That's another way in which we create a tightening effect. But the most difficult way, and the way we're still very challenged with, is can you go inside the dermis where those collagen fibers are, where the elastic fibers are, and actually get the skin to tighten purely on its own from within. And that is an area that we still are pretty deficient in, and that's an area that we need to do a lot of work. Of course, they've got these devices such as Thermage and these radio frequency and ultrasonic devices, but the results have been pretty disappointing. So that's where we need to work. Yeah. Love talking about acne because there's a lot of misconceptions, of course, about acne. Acne is incredibly common in adult women, as my Brown Bombshell Beauty blogger is asking. They're very common, and in darker skin types, there's a big disadvantage. Darker skin types have a tremendous advantage in terms of aging slower, the signs of aging appearing slower. However, darker skin types have the disadvantage that if you do have acne on your face, every pimple that's there, once it goes away, it's going to leave you with a brown mark. And in a darker skin type, that brown mark is going to last you 2 to 4 months. It lasts forever. And that's very distressing, because as that patient gets more and more pimples, then of course she's going to be covered in brown spots. So rule number one is fight the acne, get rid of the acne, do what you have to do prescription wise. Primarily is the most effective and quickest way to go, so that the patient stops breaking out. Once she stops breaking out, her skin can get along with the business of fading out the brown spots. But of course, we're going to have to use fading creams to speed that process along. So, hydroquinone still works great for that. That's an area that's somewhat controversial. We can touch on that later. But bleaching regimen is a great idea for a darker skin patient to kind of help them. And of course, we can do some chemical peels to sort of speed that shedding along and get those brown spots to go. And again, you want to use, as far as anti-aging concerns, those don't conflict. Whatever that patient needs to do for their anti-aging, fortunately, is not going to conflict with whatever they need to do for their acne control. Argan oil to help your skin, even if you have oily skin complexion. I have not, to be honest, I've not heard about argan oil. I'm not sure what that is. I will look that up for you, and I will contact you and get you the information on that. I have not heard of that, so I'm not sure what they mean by argon, of course, because argon is a gas. It's an inert, it's a noble gas, so I'm not sure what they're talking about there, but I can check it out for you. Yeah, so as far as large pores, my skincare line, I'll tell you something that most people don't realize, that using the proper products to create a soothing effect on the skin, to create a nourishing effect on the skin, to get the moisture level back where it needs to be, that in and of itself improves your pores, and I have the photos to prove it. So that's an excellent way to get your pores in the right direction. Now, of course, you want to do exfoliation as well. Exfoliation can give you a more long-term, consistent pore reduction. And in that case, you want to use, the usual like retin-A's, retinols, and or chemical peels. I think making an appointment with a dermatologist before you decide on a skincare regimen is a great idea. There can be several complicating factors with your skin that patients may not take into account. One of the most common complicating factors is rosacea, which I'm sure most of you've heard about. And of course, there's sort of a classic rosacea pattern that a lot of writers are familiar with. But the truth is, there's a lot of different forms of rosacea that can create a splotchiness. And it's going to be hard for the non-trained eye to really pick that up. And that's something that should be addressed along with whatever skincare regimen. In addition to that, rosacea patients they're more sensitive, and you have to take that into account when you're planning a regimen for them. So from that perspective, it's important. Also from this perspective of if there's any underlying low-grade acne, obviously we need to address that. So there's a lot of complicating things that go on. It's not quite so simple. In order to optimize your skincare regimen, you need to think about those other factors, and obviously a dermatologist is the way to go. You know, the frequency with which you see a dermatologist really sort of depends on how troublesome your skin is. I mean, there are some people who are blessed with great skin, and those are people who maybe need only see the dermatologist every 1 or 2 years, especially at their younger age. But, you know, most of us, we're going to probably end up seeing the dermatologist at least once a year, because there's a lot of factors going on at the same time. Yeah. I think there's just time for just a few more questions, right? Yeah. As far as aging, I just do want to make a point that it's really interesting to see how people age as they go on through the decades. And so, again, early on, you're going to see maybe just a couple expression lines. But as we go on further and further in aging, you go from maybe a couple expression lines, maybe a few little brown spots, to the enemy number one, which is sagging skin. And sagging skin can be as subtle as just, you know, some extra hollow under the eyes because the cheeks are starting to drop a little bit. It can be as subtle as, you know, nasolabial folds that are starting to look more pronounced, to, of course, maybe just a little bit of a jowl or something forming along the jawline. These are all indirect signs that the skin is starting to sag. So that's how we see the progression typically. You know, the only type of products that I generally am a little leery of patients using is, I'm not a big fan of the electric brushes for the face, the products that are that people use for exfoliating, because those products, those devices oftentimes will make your skin more vulnerable to getting exposed to chemicals that you're now going to react to. In other words, your dead layer's been knocked out a certain way, and now certain chemicals can penetrate through to your skin that beforehand didn't, and now you can get irritant type reactions. So not a big fan of those. I like exfoliation done by a different method, either by using creams or products of that nature, or if not, doing, you know, chemical peels. And along those lines, you know, it's funny, we were just talking about the electric brush, because exfoliation is the name of the game for reducing pores. And my favorite for reducing pores is the retinol family is still the best. They're still the gold standard for that. So definitely want to see patients either using your skincare line products that have retinol in them, or of course you can use Retin-A, which is a prescription. Of course, it's a retinoic acid. It's a prescription product you can get from your dermatologist. Those are my preferred ways to get the pores to shrink consistently and better. Great question on the sagging skin for the older patients. Well, that kind of goes back to where we're going in the future. You know, I was mentioning to you about sagging skin. We can do amazing things with fillers to take away that appearance of sagging. Lots of neat little tricks that we can do, or we can improve that without making you look strange, or, you know, without altering you. We can just basically use them in a way that's going to create the skin to look tighter because we're stretching it indirectly. And then, of course, you know, there's always the surgical route, which most people don't want to do early on and don't really need to do early on in their sagging evolution. Thank you all very much for coming, and it was a pleasure. Sorry I didn't get to see you in New York. Hurricane Sandy messed us up. But thanks again